Between the oases is also oases.
In art called the negative space.
So, okay, so we went back to the Information Torah. Okay, we can talk about Matan, but actually we'll wait until we get the actual wording in the Maimer. So, after having, first let me point out where we're going to start. We're going to start where we left off last night, really. The line begins coolly, just a few lines below the middle of the page. Matan Torah, 600,000 Jews united like one person. This is a miracle of miracles. If there ever was one.
And the what?
If there ever was a miracle, that was a miracle.
Right, for sure.
This was at Matan Torah, and we're going to explain how that was affected, how that came about. So we're going into the parentheses. Okmoi, and as it is expressed in the Pasuk, B'yisasef Rosh Yom Yachad Shifte Yisrael. This is in Beis HaBrocha, when Moshe Rabbeinu was preparing to give a bracha to all the Shematim. So it says, V'yisasef Rosh Yom, that when Rosh Yom we added together, Yachad Shifte Yisrael, all the Shifte Yisrael are one are together. B'bchinas Yichud Mamash. And this Yichud is a Yichud Mamash, means literally Yichud. They have one perspective, although they remain different. How then do they have one perspective? Adedei b'chinas gilihu atzmus shemei b'rosh Hashanah. This by the effect of b'chinas gilihu atzmus, where there is a gilihu atzmus in a bechino manner. In other words, there is the effect of it, not the gilihu atzmus per se, but the effect of the gilihu atzmus. They sense the atzmus element. Shemei b'rosh Hashanah. Shalidei zeh nase asifas v'kibus ha'afochim, whereby is affected, brought about, gathering and together hafochim, the opposites, the meichin umidos, the hafochim of meichin umidos, which are opposite one another, very very different qualities. Shein b'bchinas achdus mamush, and they come to be b'bchinas achdus mamush. V'chein hoi b'matan Torah, And the similar Inyan actually took place at Matan Torah. The Hainu, and that is Alidei Gilui Oir, the Atzmus Ein Soif Shehei B'Matan Torah. This was the effect of the Gilui Oir, the Atzmus Ein Soif.
Is the Rosh on Rosh Hashanah, what's that the reference to? Shifti Rosh
On Rosh Hashanah, even gathered together. So by He Bishurun Melech, Bisasu Rosh Hashanah, this is talking about the coronation of the king. This is on Rosh Hashanah. He Bishurun Melech. When they come to coronate the king, so then Bisasu Rosh Yom Yachad Shifti Yisrael, they're all one.
It's a pasuk.
Huh? They're both right. They sense the perfect unity.
Oh, sorry.
So, by Matan Torah, there was a Gilui Oy in the Asmus Ein Sof. I'd like to focus in on these words. Gilui Oyer, the Atzmus Ein Sof, the Oyer of Atzmus Ein Sof, Shehei B'Matan Torah. To focus in on these words, we always explain that the union of Torah is a union that comes milamailo lemata, comes from above downward. Torah is not a method of adjudicating amongst disparate interests like common law. Torah comes from above. Yet it comes down into the world, and in the world there are disparate interests. As a matter of fact, right there in Aseres HaDibris, in the pinnacle of Matan Torah, it says Le'signoiv, Le'sinov, Le'sigzeil. So how can you say you're talking about perfect unity? You're talking about total disarray. So, to try to understand this, and be saying that this is Gilui Oyer, the Asmas Ein Sof. The Gilui Oyer Asmas Ein Sof, if we begin to understand it from our perspective, means the following. Yes, indeed, they are separate entities. To the extent that you have to warn them, Lo Signoiv, Lo Sigzoiv. But the reason that we are telling them Lesignoiv, Lesigzoil is that they're all connected to Atzmos. The reason you tell them Lesignoiv is not so that they don't offend each other. But because, as we always point out, you own this thing. The reason you own this thing, this is by decree of Atzmos Ein Sof. Don't touch it. If you touch it, you're violating the truth of Atzmos Ein Sof. The Gemara tells a story. I don't remember who, I think it was Yeshua ben Levi. There was a certain Amira who did a lot of quote-unquote scientific investigations, what do you call it, trials.
Experiments.
Huh? Experiments. So he said he wanted to know whether among the ants there is a hierarchy of rulership. There's a king. Ants are very industrious and they really cooperate and do a lot of things. Is there some kind of a structure? So he went and he found an ant hole, and it was a very hot sunny day. So he put his hand over the ant hole and created a shade. One investigating ant came out and saw that it's shady, went back into the hole, and called all the other ants to come out. It says it's safe to come out because the sun is hidden. They came out. In the meantime, he took his hand off, and the heat of the sun hit them. They came out and they saw that the messenger was lying. They gathered up on him and they killed him. This is what he observed. So he concluded from this that there is no king there, because if there were a king, they should have taken him to the king for judgment. They don't take the law into your own hands. What does it have to do with having a king? The principle in this is like this. This guy lied to them. Who did he offend by lying? They took it in their hands because you offended us. If there were a king, the offense is against the king. How can you lie in the king's domain? Therefore, it has to be come back to the king. There is no king. Therefore, the offense was against the individual. So the individual goes and he kills him. Matan Torah has brought into the world the cognizance and the sense of a completely different reality. Like we speak all the time, land ownership is by divine decree. This is not a convention that human beings have decided upon. This is why in Torah we are extremely careful with monetary justice. Because to violate that, you are going against the king. You're violating the king. If you say it's not violating, that's even worse. That means you're denying the king's presence. This is what it says. But Matan Torah Heir bechinas the oyer the bechinas atzmus ein sof. The Matan Torah was made the atzmus ein sof, the etzem that there is a king present right here, and anything you do, you're immediately insulting the king. This is the thing from Matan Torah. This is why it seems like totally incongruent, out of whack. That's all that was accomplished by Yonech Hashem Elokecha. This is the thing from Matan Torah. That it was the oil, the atmos in soif, and therefore it is totally hisardus. You're right in front, and the whole value, the significance of your own ownership is the fact that there is a king. If you claim, oh no, I own it, this is shtusim v'avoli. This is why we explained that in Torah, the difference between the punishment for a gneva and a gzela. Everybody knows what that is. Gzela, you violated the person, so we'll tell him forget it. Let's wipe it off. Let's make the world clean. But if you violate clearly the presence of the king, then it has to be cleaned up.
Probably it's a little out of left field, but why is it that the way that this unity of the Melech is the Malchus is expressed comes out the same way or a similar way as if people just got together and thought about, what would be, a proper system of people living in harmony. They would come up with the same kinds of things, and yet this is exactly how, on first glance, the Malchus is expressed in a very similar, superficially similar way. Why wouldn't it be a totally, a different thing to honor the Melech?
Well, there is also the idea of honoring the Melech. The answer to this, it's a broad answer. But the principle is, as we already learned, that Elokus came down by his yashvus in the world. Why is it? It's a similar answer. Why is it that for every neshama function in the goof, there's a special part in the goof that does it? Why is there a heart? Why is there a brain? That you can disclaim the neshama. You say, no, the brain does it, the heart does it. It's not the brain and it's not the heart. It's these aspects of the neshama and there's mislapshus in the goof. Because nisava kodesh boru liris leidiro betachtei. This is why it is totally imperative that to approach everything, first you have to know the first principle that the Rambam gives. Otherwise you get lost. You get lost into a quagmire and the mess, and you can't find any truth. Nothing is forcing you into that truth. Except if you go down into your own intelligence. You say, oh, wait a second, here is the truth. Therefore, everything else is due to this truth.
At this moment of Achdus, we're having these series of divros that are in a way in the negative, saying, don't think there's disunity, don't steal. Meanwhile,
don't steal because there is unity.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering why the negative statement. Why not?
Because in this world, that's the only way you can talk about it.
Okay, then that would seem to come later, not at this moment of Matan Torah when, like we just said, the essence was revealed.
The essence was revealed, and as a result of that, this negative is the only way to express the presence of Atzmus. Any other way, when you say, no, as a human being you own land, so that attributes to the human being.
So by the negative, it's a greater statement.
It's a greater statement.
Essence and presence of essence.
Love koidem lehen.
Love koidem lehen.
Once you know the lav, then you understand why. Then the hen becomes because the hen has already a presence. The lav is without presence. Just don't do it. All right, let's continue.
Paltiel, would you mind about the answer to Yehuda's question about what you answered to Yehuda's question about his yashus? That means that did you mean by that from the worldly perspective is also seeing the achdus? I didn't quite understand the answer that you gave.
Yehuda asked, how come the principles that surface as a result of the presence of the king are the similar principles that are there in the context of the world itself? Seems to be, like questionable. Is it really because of that? There is a world. So I explained that the reason that they coincide is because Elokus was established in the world. He came to the world with his slabshus, which means that even though there is perfect achdus, because in Gilach Atzmus, how is this achdus represented in the world? Not by nullifying the mitzvahs of the world, but by translating the Atzmus within the context of the world.
The way Hashem's achdus is expressed is the way that I can understand Hashem's achdus. That the laws don't steal. That law itself makes me aware that there's an achdus of Hashem, isn't it?
Yes, you could say. Right, you could. That's right.
You're intuitively connected.
That's right. It's expressed right there in the world.
So therefore, it lines up with how we ourselves would make harmony, because I guess Hashem his achdus is expressing us with how we would understand achdus down there. So
Well, the fact that it would be the same if we had established these laws is like a camouflage for the Elokus presence. Otherwise, there would be no world. Like we said, the Oish and Yud Reishi, it was nignus. The sun is like a camouflage for that Oish. So that it becomes part of the world. As we explained many times, light is not a worldly phenomenon. But it was hidden, so to speak, within worldly functionaries, so that you can accept the presence of light without losing sight of the world. But essentially, light is not a worldly thing. In the world, if you want to know what this is, you have to go and touch it. That's what world is. Okay. So, according to the note down on the bottom of the page, this is the close of the parentheses. We have a four-line parentheses. Okay. Mikol Hanal. From all of this, of the above that we have discussed, the long discussion of how multiple or opposites can unite, and what brought us into this discussion, the union between Rotzu and Vishuv. Mekol Hanal, from all them Yuvan Be'inyan HaHiskalelus, the Rotz and Vishuv, regarding the Hiskalus, the interconnectivity and inter-inclusion of Rotz and Vishuv, שנזבו אליל שהוא בזפני. Before we go to the נזבו אליל, because Rotzev and Shuv are effectively opposite tendencies, totally opposite tendencies. Where Rotzu is the focus on that which is higher, on Ayin, and Shuv, it is bringing it down into Metzius. And yet, there is a hiskalus between Rotzu and Shuv. That after a Rotzu there will be a Shuv, and after a Shuv there will be a Rotzu. Which means that there is some kind of interplay or a relationship. The Rotzu does not go to the extreme and negate Shuv, and Shuv does not go to extreme and negate Rotzu. There is a hiskalus. So we explained various ways that Rotzu B'Shuv can, but allows and brings about this unity. Just want to remind ourselves where we got to. So we pointed out a couple of ways how the Rotzu B'Shuv can unite, and then we had a final question. And the final question was that despite the fact that one brings the other in the manner that we explained, that is still not what's called imperative. It is not really a demanding element. What makes it that after a Rotzu for sure there's going to be a Shuv, and after a Shuv for sure there's going to be a Rotzu? This was the last question we had. So now we're going to review briefly this whole thing, and then we come. The Skalulus and Rotzu B'Shuv.
Is just that what makes it imperative is to say.
This was our question.
And we were left with this question because what came before was not sufficient.
It was not imperative.
It wasn't.
It allowed for. It was not imperative.
It was partial answers. It wasn't.
It was. It explains how it happens, but not why does it happen. What pushes one the other. It could very well go without it. You have a Rotzu and you forget about the Shuv. You have a Shuv and you forget about the Rotzu. There has to be the Iyar Rotzu V'Shuv, Achayas Rotzu V'Shuv is an imperative in it. Because I said, Achayas Rotzu V'Shuv. This is life itself. That cannot be chancy. Hiskalus Rotzu B'Shuv, the term Hiskalus means Nichlal, means one actually incorporates the other. Not one allows for the other, but one incorporates the other. And as we said, it has to be incorporating, otherwise it would not be an imperative thing. That this interrelationship between Rotzu and Shuv has two ways, two finding that this occurs. Aleph, one is Rotzu maybe Lidei Shuv, that the Rotzu actually brings about the Shuv, meaning the Rotzu is sort of demanding the Shuv. Why is the Rotzu doing the Shuv? Shezehu mipnei shehashuv nimtza bo Rotzu v'chein b'hashuv kul. That is due to the fact that within the Shuv there is already the element of the Shuv. In the Rotzu there is the element of the Shuv, and in the Shuv there is the element of the Rotzu. This is referring to briefly that the original thing, the thing from the Ahava, where the Rotzu is because of the Ahava, and then we pointed out that the Ahava, no matter how powerful and how clear, does not satisfy his thirst. We explained about the union of thirst, Suchimoy, and therefore the Ara itself brings to the Shuv. So this is one way. Beis, and the other way that we explained the interrelationship between Rotzu and Shuv, she'einu meviim zeh zeh, not that they bring one to the other, that the one is the cause of the other. Kiyim, but rather in a different type of relationship. Sheharotzu v'hashuv, that the Rotzu and the Shuv heim be'eifun kozeh, that each one individually is in such a manner, shegam kisheharotzu hu betekev, that even when the Rotzu is in full force, not that it stays away and it allows for the Shuv. The Rotzu in the full force, Yiye Acharov Shuv. There should be afterwards dinyan for Shuv. Even while the Rotzu is in full expression. So now we'll discuss the inyan of his kalos of Shuv from the perspective that we have now explained in his kalos to Hafochim as a result of a Gilui Oyer Elyon. Okay, now we have to take a break. Mr. Shem to be continued on Sunday morning.
What was missing from the? The missing was what is the reason behind?
Yeah, what caused it? There should be something imperative.
Simon wasn't answering that already.
Shimoin answers it yes. Shimoin is not a full power of Rotzu.
Is that human beings have a sense.
Doesn't he goes on a quest, he sees it's not realized there, so he comes back.
That's right, but the quest is a qualified quest. He experiences it. He has an experience of it. That's why there's a Shuv. The person experiences it.
Must be obeyed.
Rotzu, real Rotzu is taken, but he doesn't have any experience. It's just that he wants this.
He apparently was sensitive enough to say he was.
So even there, we said that the bittul that he has would ultimately lead to the Shuv. I thought we identified there, even with the Taikif Haratzai, it leads to Shuv because
that goes. We pointed out that will not. It allows for it, but it won't lead to. The question is what actually leads to. Because there is really an error. Okay, this is it for this morning. Have a good day.
Should be in the way that we understand that it's a peaceful way.
Now what?
That it works in a peaceful way. That people respect each other. Is it imperative that his achta should be expressed that way? It's not.
Not at all. We give Malchus. Not a pleasant thing.
To preserve order, no?
Give Malchus because somebody ate Hagishvis. He ate them from the Shvis, from the aftergrowth from the same. There's no violation, no social violation there whatsoever.
Right, but the things which you do have to do with social interaction, that those things are in a way of harmony and order and seeming something which would reveal Hashem's
I said so.
actions.
Even David is not necessarily true
Not
because,
necessarily.
from a social perspective, a gazlan is a greater violation than a gun.
So it's only to count. He's saying that not only, but I mean it's a chesed to us too, but it's like it does camouflage. So what you're saying, the discussion that the fact that it makes sense to us that humans would do it anyway, so it sort of camouflage to the fact that it's a god.
Yeah.